What I want to do now is separate these two mountain ranges from one another, and we're going to create another non-destructive adjustment layer. So I'm going to go to this little icon right here, this little cookie, and I'm going to make sure I'm on this back part of the mountains that we duplicated and flipped earlier. I'm going to create a hue saturation adjustment layer. Now, the problem with an adjustment layer is that typically it affects absolutely everything that's underneath it. So there is a way to prevent that. And if we click on this little line between this layer and the adjustment layer while holding down the Alt or Option key, see a little icon appears? This will make it only affect the layer directly underneath it, and it moves it over. So now we can do whatever we want to, and it will only affect this guy. So I'm going to actually undo that first to show you what happens if we don't do this. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this hue slider and go all the way to the orange. Notice how it affects this guy and here, and also the sky. And that's not what we want. So once again, if I hold down the Alt or Option key and click in between these layers, the only place that gets orange now is the layer directly underneath it. A really cool tip for you guys. So what I'm going to do is put this back to where it was. All right. And I'm going to go to the saturation. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the further things are away from us, the less saturated they are. And the closer they are, the more contrasty they are, which is why this is a great picture to use here, because these rocks are nice and bold, and it gives our eye the sense that we're closer to this than we are to this. So I'm going to take the saturation slider, and I'm going to dial it down a little bit to suck some of the color out of this copy so that it's now an intermediary between this boldness and way back here. See the difference? It might be a little bit too much, but you can just play around with that. So that's just an example of how you can use an adjustment layer to really add some separation. So you can even, by the way, use the lasso tool if you need to, and you can cut out portions and copy and paste them onto their own layers and do the same thing. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to go now to the clouds layer, and we're going to add another adjustment layer, and we're going to add the hue saturation again. And since it's on the bottom, it doesn't really matter. This will only affect the clouds. And what I want to do here is I want to play around with the color of the clouds a little bit to add some more drama to this piece. So I'm going to go to the right here and see if I can pull a bit more blue in there. Maybe even head to purple, just a little tiny bit to add some color, right? Just to change it around just a slight amount. I'm going to go ahead and hide this and just show you the difference here. So here's before, and here's after. Once again, just to add a little separation and to kind of take us away from the modern world and put us back in time a little bit. So we can always change these, by the way. This is the beauty of an adjustment layer. So if you want to change it, I just double click on it and I can go to the properties for the mask, or I can go to the properties for the actual adjustment. So it's really kind of nice that we can do this at any time. If you don't like this, come back later on, change it to green, change it to a volcanic red, or whatever you want to. That is the beauty of these non-destructive adjustment layers. You can come back and change your mind. So let's go ahead and save our work so far as the Ancient Glacier, and we'll continue and add some more refinement before we head into After Effects.